Jessica is Kritika from the Time Research Chennai, and she will be talking about dynamic parameterized problems.
Hi all, good afternoon. And as the title suggests, we're going to talk about dynamic problems in the parameterized statistical framework, or parameterized problems in the dynamic framework. Former one is more suited to the team, and here we go. So we are presenting where the graph changes dynamically, meaning in this setting only edges are being modified. The vertex set of the graph is fixed, for a network, and the edges could be deleted, added, and so on. And after a certain amount of time, the graph which was initially, let's call it G, has become another graph H. So a measure of how close two graphs are. Yeah. Okay. Like I was saying, our input graph could change over time in terms of edges, and after some t steps of time, it could become a new graph where the edges are different. Let's assume that the vertex set of two graphs are, the vertex set of the graphs are same throughout the problem. Alright. So a measure of how close two graphs are could be the symmetric difference of the edges or vertices. Since the vertices are the same throughout, the difference between two graphs are measured in terms of the symmetric difference of their edge sets. So for instance, the graph on the left and the graph on the right are at a distance of 8 from each other. So it's the symmetric difference of the set of edges. Okay. So we in dynamic problems, for any graph problem, we essentially want a solution. If we already have a solution and the input changes, we would like to maintain a solution for the new input. So that's the setting we are in. Say we have a graph G, we maintain a vertex cover of G. The red vertices correspond to a vertex cover, meaning you take any edge of the graph, at least one endpoint is in the red set. And G has become a graph H over time. And we want to maintain the red vertices now are no longer a vertex cover for the new. And we can always recompute a vertex cover for the new graph because we already had a solution for the old graph. So we knew how to get a solution for the old graph. So we can use that trick maybe and get, for instance, a FPT algorithm. Vertex cover has many kinds of FPT algorithms, and we can get a vertex cover for the new graph. So the point is not to do too much of work when the input changes. Say we have 1,000,000 nodes, but only few, maybe 100 edges get added and deleted. So you don't want to spend a million time in terms of a million. Rather, we would want to spend time in terms of the changes. So this is the setting we are in, and we would like to see if you can find a vertex cover that's as close to the current vertex cover. So when I mean current vertex cover, it's for the old graph. New vertex cover is for the new graph. Okay. So for instance, if I add one gray vertex, that's a vertex cover for the new graph. So with a Hamming distance of 1, that is by adding one new vertex, I'm able to make the current vertex cover a new vertex cover. So in terms of graphs, we will use Hamming distance to denote the symmetric difference of the edge sets. And as far as the solutions are concerned, we will use Hamming distance to denote the symmetric difference of the vertex sets. So I hope that terminology is clear. So this is the setting that we are in. So if we want a new solution that is at a Hamming distance of 1 from the old solution, it's possible for this instance. But it need not be true if for the same set of graphs, the original solution is this red set of graphs. I cannot find a vertex cover of the new graph that is at a Hamming distance of 1 from this old solution. Maybe 2 is possible, and this is an example. So this is the setting that we are in. In general, how does a dynamic parameterized problem template look like? The instance, we have two graphs. One has become another graph over a period of time. The symmetric difference of the edge sets have cardinality at most k. That is, at most k edges are added or deleted to G to get H. That's the interpretation. We are also given a solution for the graph G. Solution could be a vertex cover dominating any of the problems that we are interested in. What do we want? We are also given another integer r. What do we want? We want to have a solution of h, the new graph, that is at a Hamming distance of at most r from the old solution. So this is the solution. So this gives rise to two natural parameters. We usually go for solution size as the parameter, but here the initial solution could have an arbitrary size. We assume we already have that solution. Better parameters or more meaningful parameters could be k and r. In this sense, k is the distance of the two graphs, the symmetric difference of the two graphs. R is the symmetric difference of the solutions that you want to. Okay, so this is the setting. And k is called the edit parameter, r is called the distance parameter, so that I won't use symmetric difference often. So we'll mostly talk about FPT algorithms with respect to the edit parameter. That's a new parameter. R can be thought of as a solution size also for certain problems. So that's the reason. So let's consider dominating set. We know that it's a notorious problem in parameterized complexity network. Notorious meaning notoriously hard. It's known to be W2 complete. And so we'll study this problem in the dynamic set. Right. So we are given a graph G. This is the graph. I'm omitting some edges. Not the full edge set is not given. D is the dominating set of the graph. So it essentially dominates all other vertices, and of course it's now to the graph we can make some edge additions and edge deletions, and we have a graph H that's obtained from G. That is a distance of at most k from each of them. What do we want? We want to find the dominating set of the new graph that is at a Hamming distance of at most r from the old solution. This is the goal. Alright. So we are given a graph G, we are given a set S that is a dominating set for G. What do we want? We have another graph H which is at a distance of at most k from G, and we want a set T that is a dominating set for H. This is what we want. Now the first property is we will show that it suffices to look for a T that contains S. Because S is something we know, it's given to us. T is something that we don't know. So the first thing is, we can assume that by the problem structure, that it suffices to find a T that contains S. This is the first thing that we prove. Suppose not. Suppose you have a T that is possibly intersecting with S, but does not contain S entirely. So S would look like this. It has some vertices from T, some vertices outside T. Now, S union T is also a dominating set for H. Because T is already a dominating set for H. By adding more vertices to the dominating set, you will not kill any property. So S union T remains a dominating set for the new graph. Now let us look at the only thing that we need to show is the Hamming distance property. Let us consider the distance between S and S union T. We want S and T to be at most R. Suppose it is at most R. How will the Hamming distance of S and S union T will look like? It's the symmetric difference of the vertex sets, right? So it's T minus S, which is at most T minus S plus S minus T. That is the distance between S and T. So if that is at most R, this will also be at most R. So it suffices to look for a dominating set that contains the given dominating set. This is the first one. That's true.
Not particularly less and smaller.
Correct. We are not particularly. This is just that the Hamming distance should be as small as possible. Alright. So this is a given graph, and now the graph on the left is the graph G, the first graph. By adding edges, say the red edges are added, nothing is going to happen. The set D will continue to be a dominating set. So addition of edges is not going to affect the solution. So if we have only an edge addition, it's good. We can just return the same set as the new solution. If edges are deleted within the dominating set or within the non-dominating set, it's still fine. D will continue to be a dominating set, that is also fine. Okay. So this is not a problem. Naturally, the only problem is when you delete edges from D to the other part, V minus T. You would probably undominate certain vertices that were dominated earlier. Edges of the dotted part. So those are the problem now. Alright. So this is the graph G again, and this is the new graph, and we need to worry only about the deletion of edges between D and the other set C. These are the only problematic edges. But how many vertices can go undominated? D was dominating all the vertices, including itself. Now the number of edge deletions is at most k. The number of edge additions plus the number of deletions is at most k. Number of edge deletions is at most k. So at the max, k vertices could go and dominate it. And that's it. So what do we want? We just have to dominate a set of k vertices from C using vertices from C and D. This is what we want. Well, this naturally gives rise to a set cover instance where the universe is just of size k. And that's it. We know that any set cover instance of universe size u can be solved in 2 power u time using a standard dynamic programming algorithm. And this gives a 2 power k algorithm for dynamic dominating set. A very simple algorithm. K is the edit parameter again. Okay. So a classical W2 complete problem in the classical parameterized setting is FPT by a very simple algorithm in the dynamic setting with respect to this parameter. But however, if the parameter is R, the Hamming distance of the solutions, the problem is still W2 complete. It's already known. This part is already known. Okay. Now, suppose, so this seems to be a very easy algorithm for this problem. Suppose we enforce a constraint. We not only want to maintain a dominating set, we want to maintain a connected dominating set. This problem is also in the classical parameterized complexity framework, it's W2 complete. But what happens in the dynamic framework? Okay. Again, we're given a graph G, a dominating set D, which is not only a dominating set, it's also connected dominating set. I have not drawn the edges, but assume that D is connected. Again, edges get added, deleted, and we are at a graph H where there are the K1 edge deletions and K2 edge additions from G. So now we have, once again, one of the reasons why the algorithm for dominating set in the dynamic framework was so simple was because we assumed that it suffices to search for a solution that contains the old solution. And the old solution is already given to you. You have so much of information. That's the reason why the problem became very easy. At least that's the main reason why the problem became very easy. Can we show something similar for connected dominating set? Because the connectivity constraint, it's not very clear as to why it suffices to search for a superset of the original solution. Because the connectivity constraint is an issue here. Alright. So suppose we are given a graph G, S is a connected dominating set for G, and we have another graph H, and we want a connected dominating set T for H. Now, suppose T does not contain S. It could possibly intersect with S. Still, S union T is a dominating set. That is not an issue. That's fine. Hamming distance is also not an issue. That is also fine. What happens to the connectivity? Let's see. If we show that S union T is still connected, then we are done. Then it suffices to search for a solution that contains the whole solution. Alright. Now, say S and T look like this. They intersect at some vertices. The intersection would be empty. That's still fine. Alright. Now T is anyway connected. Because T is a connected dominating set for H, T is connected. When I mean T is connected, it's connected in H. It's not necessarily connected in G. We don't care about G anyway. Okay. Now let us consider a vertex in S that is not in T. Since T is a dominating set for the entire graph, it has to be adjacent to some vertex in T. This is true for any vertex in S that is not in T. So, since T is connected, and every vertex that is in S but not in T is connected to some vertex in T, S union T will form a connected set graph. So, it is also a connected dominating set. Okay. So, once again, it suffices to search for a connected dominating set for H that contains S. Okay. So, now, once again, we have a graph G, it has become a graph H, and we just saw that the edge deletions are the only ones that could affect the dominating set property. Right? That is, D could no longer be a dominating set only because of edge deletions between D and the other set. Let's call it C. Additions are not going to affect that property. Okay. But then how many vertices can go undominated? The number of edge deletions. And we said that the number of edge deletions is K1, number of edge additions is K2, K1 plus K2 is K. So at most K1 vertices could go undominated. Now, in the case of dominating set, deleting edges within D is not an issue. But here, deleting edges within D is an issue because we want a connected dominating set. Okay? So that is also a problem. Edge deletions could also be an issue. Alright? Edge deletions within D could also be an issue, is what I mean. Alright. So, yeah. But anyway, again, the number of edge deletions is at most K. I mean, this K1 and K2, I think, have mixed up the notation. So let's assume K for both. It doesn't matter. So, at most K vertices are undominated. and at most D has at most K connected components. It's actually totally, that is, if you say K1 vertices are undominated and D has K2 components, K1 plus K2 is at most K. That's a minor arithmetic detail. Alright, so now what do we have? We have the components of D, because we need to have a connected dominating set for the new graph. But the current dominating set need not be connected. But how many components can it have? A function of K, let's call it K2. Linear in K, it's say D1 to dK2, the components of D in H is what I mean. Undominated vertices, again there are K1 of them at most. So V1 to Vk1 are undominated by D. And what do we want? We want to pick up a neighbor of V1, a neighbor of V2, neighbor of V3, so on, till a neighbor of K1. Only then the dominating set could be completed to a dominating set for the new graph. Further, we want to connect the existing components, because we showed that it suffices to search for a solution that contains the old solution. So the old solution has to be connected now. Okay? So this defines the group Steiner tree problem. That is, the group Steiner tree problem is, you're given a graph G, a family of subsets of the vertices. We want a tree of the graph G that contains one element from each set that is given in the family, and the parameter is the size of the family. This is what we want. This is the group Steiner tree problem. It is known to be FPT with respect to the size of the family. So here what do we want? We want to pick up one element from n of V1, at least one from n of V2, at least one from n of V3 and so on. At least one from D1, at least one from D2, at least one from DK2, so on. And we want this to be a connected graph. So we want it to be a tree. We want to find a tree of the graph that contains one element from each set. So since this is a group Steiner tree problem with parameter K, which is K1 plus K2, this again gives a 2-part K algorithm for connected dominating set. Another simple algorithm, maybe not as simple as set cover, but relatively slightly more involved, but yet simple. Okay, so both these problems have 2-part K algorithms in the dynamic framework, where K is the edit parameter. Now, can such simple algorithms also be tight? We saw several examples where simple algorithms can be really the best that we can achieve under certain reasonable assumptions. So similar kind of statements we'll make for these two algorithms also. That's the next part of the talk. Alright, so the well-known conjectures in complexity theory are P not equal to NP and exponential time world ETH, exponential time hypothesis, that 3-SAT cannot be solved in 2-part little o of n time. Strong exponential time hypothesis that says SAT cannot be solved in anything better than 2-part n time and so on. Alright, so now with respect to set cover, let me just recall the definition of set cover so that the conjecture and the things are clear. Set cover, the instances first consist of a universe of size n, a set of subsets of the universe of size say m, f1 to fn. We want to find out if there is the goal is to pick up a set of vertices of subset of elements of f that covers u. That's set cover. And by a very cute dp, it can be solved in 2-part n time, where n is the size of the universe. Nothing faster is known, and no lower bound under any of the current hypotheses are also known. In particular, even under strong exponential time hypothesis, no lower bounds are known. But no faster algorithm is known yet too. So, in 2012, the authors mentioned here have conjectured that nothing better is also possible. That is, you know a 2-part n algorithm. We do not expect anything better than that. And this is not under the not under the exponential time hypothesis or the stronger version, but they showed that this is also a very reasonable conjecture in the framework of ETH and SETH. This is what the authors showed. So under this conjecture, we will show that the two algorithms that we described are essentially tight. You can't, we showed a 2-part K algorithm, we'll show that a 2 minus epsilon part K algorithm is unlikely under the set cover conjecture. Okay, this is going to be the next part. So, we have a set cover instance again. The reduction is from set cover as expected. And the first graph, in our setting there are 2 graphs, one solution, 2 parameters K and R. So, given a set cover instance, the first graph G is, I'll first define the first graph sheet. For every vertex of the universe, you have a vertex. Again, this is, I mean, usually whenever we have, when you reduce from set cover, this is pretty much standard. For every vertex in the universe, we have a vertex. And for every vertex, for every set in the family, we have a vertex in the graph again. Both are independent sets, there are no edges among them. And if a set, if an element ui is present in a set fj, we put an h. Very natural reduction. In addition to that, we add a new vertex x and make it adjacent to everything in U and everything in F. It's a universal vertex. Now, this completes the first graph G. X is a connected dominating set for this whole graph. It's clear, right? X is a universal vertex, so it's adjacent to everything. So X, the singleton set is a dominating set. It's also connected because it's just a singleton set. So this is our initial solution. The next graph, H, is defined by deleting all the edges incident between X and U. I just delete those n edges. And this is the graph H. Now X is no longer a dominating set for the new graph. Because none of the vertices in U are dominated. Okay. Now what is K? We deleted K edges. So K is N. N is the size of the universe for the set cover instance. And R is the Hamming distance that we want between the two solutions. If we set R to be L is the size of the set cover that we are interested in. Now it's easy to see that the set cover instance has a set cover of size L, if and only if H has a dominating set of Hamming distance L from X. Alright, so if we have a better than 2 par k algorithm for dynamic dominating set, that will essentially mean a better than 2 par n algorithm for set cover, which is unlikely under the set cover conjecture. Okay. Further, this dominating set is also a connected dominating set because, there is a minor technicality. You can ask me that the dominating set could include vertices from U. And how do you correspond that to a set cover in the original instance? If there is a vertex U that is present in the dominating set, just pick its neighbor. Because the whole set U forms an independent set. So a vertex, if it's in the solution, all it does is to dominate itself. Because everything in F is already dominated by X. So that U is not going to do any other job other than dominate itself. You rather pick a neighbor of that U in F. So you can always construct another dynamic dominating set that contains X and a subset of F. So that can be interpreted as a set cover in the original instance. So since every vertex in F is also adjacent to X, this dominating set is also a connected dominating set. So the hardness results hold for dynamic connected dominating set. So if we have a 2 minus C par k algorithm for dynamic dominating set, that will mean a 2 minus C par n algorithm for set cover, which is unlikely. And the same holds for connected dominating set. Alright. So this is the details part of the talk. And what we showed was that many problems that are hard, or at least two problems that were hard in the parameters complexity framework become sort of tractable when you consider a different parameter. And that different parameter is obtained in the dynamic setting. This is what we saw. So what happens to classical tractable problems in the parameters complexity world? They remain tractable in dynamic world too. So for instance, vertex cover, no paradigm and parameters complexity can be complete without considering vertex cover. So vertex cover, predictably it is FPT with respect to both the parameters in the dynamic framework. So for connected vertex cover, with respect to the edit parameter k, good results are known. And for connected vertex cover, the 2 par k also looks likely. We might not be able to improve it, once again using the set cover conjecture. In the classical parameterized world, connected vertex cover has a 2 par k algorithm, the k solution size. Nothing better is expected again using the set cover conjecture. This was known and this was proven by the authors who introduced the set cover conjecture. And feedback vertex set also has good tractability results here. In general, if we consider the pi deletion problem, where you delete minimum number of vertices to get to a graph that belongs to a graph class pi that has nice properties, heredity and so on, all the results that are known in the classical world can be extended to the dynamic world. Results of the kind NP hardness, fixed parameter tractability results, polynomial kernel existence, W hardness results and so on. Due to lack of time, I'm not getting into it. And so this is the setting in the dynamic framework for classical parameterized columns. So, concluding, we talked about given a solution for the old graph, can we find a solution to the new graph that is as close as possible? We didn't worry about, as Neil pointed out, we didn't worry about getting a better solution, better in terms of the size of the solution. We didn't worry about that. So suppose we have a k-size solution for, say we have a k-size vertex cover for the graph. Can we maintain a k-size vertex cover for the new graph? In FPT time, it's trivial because vertex cover is FPT and we would be able to do it. Can you do it in better than the known bounds time? So that's one thing. And we saw parameterizing with respect to k, where k is the number of edge additions and deletions. Suppose you split it, k1 edge additions and k2 edge deletions, can you get a refined analysis? That's natural. Other parameters like tree width or vertex cover number as a parameter in the alternate parameterized setting world. And what are can these problems be analyzed in the online framework, streaming framework? That remains to be seen. And in the process, can interesting data structures be developed? That's an obvious open topic. So that concludes my talk, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.